Thank you so much. I have never understood, such an introduction, but thank you so much for introducing me to the Chinese audience. And it sounded wonderful in my ears, even though I did not understand a single word. So I'm very pleased and feel very humbled that I can be here today to share a little bit about my personal journey in the coaching world around how my coaching practice has shifted being in the digital age. So let me quickly share my screen so that you can follow my presentation. I hope you can all see what I have prepared for you. And so I invite you to explore coaching in the digital age, the challenges, but also the opportunities that I have seen in my field here working in Germany, but also in the global workforce. So I think IC did all of that introduction about me as a researcher and my background, so we can quickly skip that slide and jump in right into today's structure. We will have 3 parts. The changes that took place in my practice, I will be exploring those a little. We will be looking at the tools and the technology that I have implemented in my practice, that I have used with my clients in my practice. I will share a little bit about why I did that and where the benefit is. And last but not least, an outlook into the future, because I love technology, and technology is exploding, has exploded over the last few years. So I want to share with you something that I tested a couple of weeks ago. So be surprised, to hold the tension a little bit. Times of change. There is a time that counts before 2020. There is a time during 2020, during the pandemic. There is a time in the middle, and there is a time as we are now embarking into the future. I will start with giving you an overview of how my workday looked in 2020 or before 2020, then during the pandemic, and then how I was segueing from, the pandemic out into the now. So let's take a look. When I started my coaching practice in 2003, and until the pandemic hit the world, I had a workday that was separated in 2 parts. 50% was happening with clients on client premises, and 50% was happening online. And when I'm using percentages here, it's not really the absolute numbers in percentages, but it's more how my working day was separated. In the mornings, I would go out to see my clients on their premises, and in the afternoon, I would do remote work with those clients that were in the US or elsewhere, not in my vicinity, so that I could visit them. And that was really very practical, because I was a working mom. And so when my kids were home from school and kindergarten, I was home and I could work from home. So it was a win-win situation. And then in 2020, my husband, working for a US company, was sent on an international assignment. And so we ventured out to the US a couple of days before the country was shut down. And so I was in the US working 100% online. In the beginning, some clients, when I left, it was in the beginning of March, everything was still quite normal. Not all of my clients were open to moving with me online to the US and to continue work. Some did. But because the pandemic changed so much for them in their work field, it made it also easier. After countries were closed, people were working from home, more and more clients became open while I was in the US to also work with me from the US in a remote setting. So that was a good thing about the pandemic, which actually was a shocking impact for the entire world. But that was 2020. And I think in 2020, also a lot of coaches who had only worked with people on site in the room had to learn a lot about how to use technology to keep their businesses alive. And so I was really happy that I already had some experience in that time before the pandemic hit the world and made us all work from home. So I had the opportunity to work with those coaches, with facilitators, to introduce them to technology, because all of a sudden remote work was the thing. There was also a big, movement that started in 2020. Virtual collaboration works. I was part of that movement where we really spent 4 days, 24 hours around the clock in a global virtual room, helping people to understand how they could keep their businesses alive, learning new tools, new methods to work in that virtual space. So that was 2020. Then the focus, like I said, in 2020 was a lot about learning technology, learning how to run webinars, offer webinars, but also supporting each other in that new normal. I think it was really good for people that technology was already there, even though some were very scared of using that technology. And so helping each other was a big part of my joy while I was in the US. Also, the tech tool landscape exploded. Tools were popping up in all areas, and testing and playing with these tools together to see how they could be used in a sensible manner was also part of what happened in 2020. And offering spaces for that was something that I truly enjoyed and also really like to do. But that's the past. Let's take a look. We also had the years when the pandemic was, in a transition, let's say. 2021, I was back in Germany. International assignment was over. But still, the world had not recovered completely. We were still, not socializing in the way here in Europe as we were used to it before 2020. So my work after my return from the US was 1% just, with clients on site. And it was very, very limited. So the online work with client continued. And in 2021, more so. In 2022, there were some attempts of bringing the workforce together again. So in 2020, I do remember that we did have really some requests for offsites, for on-site workshops again, and everyone was really looking forward to getting together into the same room and working together in the same room. So 2021 was mostly remote. 2022 was a mix. 2023 was also still a mix, but the majority of my work still is remotely. And also in 2024, it remains to be remotely. One thing that I would like to maybe add was also in those years, like 2020, where people were a little bit in transition, workshops were announced for in-person, but then I, as a facilitator or as a coach to these workshops, had to be flexible, because what happened was that as much as people wanted to get together on site at nice locations, in nice offices, it didn't always work, because there were last-minute changes because of sickness. There were last-minute changes also because the economy felt an impact of the pandemic. And so there were travel restrictions, budget freezes, and some of the workshops that I had prepared to be on site with people in the room, suddenly, days before it was about to happen, were called back. They had to take place remotely. And for that, I had to have tools in my toolbox that would reflect those sudden changes. Because the workshop in the room, a coaching in the room happens differently than with a group online. And so in order to avoid me a lot of stress and to give me that feeling I can do it in either place, the flexibility that some tools would offer were very, very welcome. I will show you some of the tools today that I started using in those years, and I'm still using them today because, like I said, I'm still working mostly from my home office, from the place here that you are now seeing in the background. And yeah, we are in May. Most of my work here. Last week, I was in Rome, and I can see one participant who was with me in Rome is here on this call. That was not a client engagement, it was a retreat of the CIQ European Collective. And that was the only business engagement where I would say I was out of my office. I have people coming to my place, to my premises. I have a larger space now so that people from the office can come here, and I don't have to go to their offices anymore because they also are not working from their offices anymore. And so that is a big change as well. So let's take a look at what are the tools, what are the situations that require us to look at tools in a more detailed way. So like I said, uncertainty and volatility, budget cuts and freezes might also be a reason why I'm not going to my clients anymore, because travel costs are adding to it. People in the workplace are not in their workplaces as well. So everyone has become more tool savvy. And so tools and technology are used more naturally than it was before the pandemic. And so there is also some more openness to experiment with tools. And so this is what I would like to explore with you, as well as how for me as a coach, because I'm here in my own premises, not going out to my clients anymore, my marketing and acquisition has changed. So in the past, I could see my clients on their premises. There was a lot of word of mouth. People would see me working with their teams and would say, can you do something for us as well? That is missing. That's what companies are saying. Water cooler talks, informal conversations are not happening anymore. So before, word of mouth was my marketing strategy, and I'm not a marketing person at all, not a sales expert at all. So it was really what people saw, what I was doing was, the promotion that I got. In 2020 and after 2020, I can tell you that because I'm not visible for my clients, those clients that don't know me yet, because they don't see me in their work environment, it has become different. So podcast publications, webinars like these, social medias, but also coaching providers and platforms are means for me to find new clients. So marketing and acquisition has really changed the way I get my clients and how clients find me. Yeah. So I think that is also something that has shifted the way I'm seen in public. Yeah, I'm not a public person as such, but in order to be seen for clients by clients, other ways have to be explored. So, that is the tools and an executive team coaching. That is something that I would like to explore with you because, as I said, tools have become really, really interesting for my clients, for me, to offer them the best possible experience, not being with them in the same room. So what is it that I'm using in terms of tools in my coaching, in my executive training? The whole variety of tools that are available on the market is an overview that I would like to start off with, because there is so much out there. And I got this overview from a collective that I'm a member of, the Coach Tech Collective. Sam Isaacson, I think he was a presenter also here in the 100 webinar series a couple of months or years even ago. This has been running for some time. So he, in that collective, in that tech collective, shared that overview. And when I saw it, it was very overwhelming, because all of these logos, I was thinking, what in the world is out there? What is it that I am using? Why is that important for me to know? And that overview has become a constant companion now for me to really audit myself as a coach in terms of what tools am I using, because I need to know what tools are effective for certain applications. So that is a very crowded with lots of logos overview. So I will show you my next iteration of that overview. So I looked at some of the icons. I saw, is there something that I'm using, and what would it be that I would add? And before I would add anything to an already crowded slide, I was thinking, what are my requirements on tools for me as a coach and for my clients? And so I did a usability test for tools. So I said, my tools have to be safe and have to be GDPR conform, because that is a big legal umbrella under which we are operating here in Europe. It also has, so tools have to be easy to use, intuitive. When it takes a lot of time to get used to the technology, people are not interested anymore, because they want to look at the coaching topic and not at the technology. And the last bullet point is adding extra value for me and for my clients in achieving the goals that they want to achieve. So if neither of the three play an important role, I would take the tool away from that overview and I wouldn't use it. So my overview looks a little bit different. It is not as crowded, and it's really just to show what I have used so far in terms of technology for my own, sanity and for my own, point of knowledge and overview, but also to be able to share with my clients what options they have. Because I think in Germany and in Europe, it is very important to give clients the opt-in and opt-out version. So some clients, especially corporate clients, are very restrictive on tools that can be used. So I created that overview based on Sam's original, where I was looking at administration and productivity. I'm using emails, I'm using ChatGPT, I'm using my computer software, and I am not using Dealwise and Notion. And you will see some other areas are highlighted in that overview. I will tell you in a minute why they are highlighted, but they have become a part of my coaching practice because of the work I do for other coaching providers. Then my coaching practice, in order to manage it, to get my personal and professional development organized, I have Calendly. It's easy to book appointments for my clients. I use offerings from coaching.com to get, my coach training up to date. As I said, I'm a member of the Coach Tech Collective to stay up to date what's going on in the world of technology. So there are some providers of coach training that are listed in that overview that I'm working with. And of course, also the information that is available on the EMCC websites and the offerings there. The coaching engagements is an interesting column because it contains my own clients, the clients that I have, from the past and that keep on doing business with me, through the direct channels, but also coach providers and platforms. And with that, we have to be a little bit cautious because the terminology is not always very clear. So we have coach providers platform, we have coaching platforms, and what's the difference between? I will speak to that in a minute. So when I say I'm on coach provider platforms, like Better Coach is a coach provider platform where my profile is shared with customers, clients of the Better Coach platform. So they are marketing me, they are selling my coaching services to their corporate clients. Then there are platforms where it's a combination, like Top Leader is a platform where they have clients and customers to whom my service is sold as a coach through them, but I could also onboard my coaching clients to the platform so that they could use some of the digital tools that they are offering. So there is a little bit of a Wild West going on at the moment between what is a coach provider, what is a coaching platform, and so on. Peerform is one company that I do associate work for. And so it's not necessarily a platform, but it's a company that has highly automated their processes. And that's why the company is listed in that overview. This company is the one that is highlighted in yellow. So that means I do what we all know as associate work. So they have customers and clients, and I do work for them towards the clients. And I don't have to issue an invoice. I don't have to ask for my payment. Everything is automated. They have a platform called Notion where I find my material, the information about my clients, which are actually their clients, but I'm working with them. They have an automated payment function that at the end of the month, they issue an invoice on the platform deal. Then Wise ensures that I get paid and I don't have to worry about anything. I can fully concentrate on the work with the coaching clients and with the facilitations I do. So that's that column. Enhancing the coaching experience is everything that I add on top of, Zoom and the conferencing tools that we all know and are probably using, MS Teams, etc. But here you can also see some tools like Miro, the virtual whiteboard, and Housepace and Cannyboard. These are two tools that I will be showing in short videos today so that you can visualize what that is. And the last column is that outlook into the future, machine coaching, where I, as a coach, am only supporting, but my coaches have VR glasses where they can learn and experiment at their own time, at their own leisure. I will also share a little bit about that. So let's see. Very important for me to say is that the tools like Cannyboard and Housepace and the glasses that I am showing to you right now in this webinar are tools that I pay for. So this is not a commercial now. This is not that I get paid by these, organizations for talking about their tools. It's really because I value these tools and I use them on a daily basis. That is a very important point for me to highlight here. So let's see, Housepace. Maybe some of you have heard of Housepace. It's a virtual collaboration platform, and I use it with teams and groups and leadership development programs and learning journeys, transformation journeys. When do I use it? When it's a fully remote audience, when it's a large group in the room, when it's a large group of 50 plus people, then it's very difficult to collect all of the voices and opinions. That platform allows for it. I use it for synchronous work and asynchronous work. And my favorite features are the translation features and the AI features that saves me a lot of time when I'm with the client. And in order to demonstrate or show you a little bit what I mean with this, I stopped sharing the screen because I will share my screen now showing you Housepace in case you haven't seen it yet. So Housepace is a virtual collaboration platform, like I said, where you can have a lot of users. This is an example that HowSpace gave to me for this demonstration purpose. You can have, this was a transformation impact journey they had with really lots of participants. So there is some prep work happening asynchronously, and there is some synchronous work that happens at the same time during the live interaction. And when people are entering comments, word clouds are created in real time. There are summaries created that are very efficiently taken from all of the information that is input here by the people. And we can see there is more. And there are also theme clusters that are automatically done as people are typing in. So you can imagine when I'm talking to 50 people in the room, it's really easy for me to cluster and to figure out what is it that people want to actually do as a next step, depending on the facilitation that I'm doing. But that's not the only thing. So there is one other really interesting feature. So I can go in and I can say, oh, that was the wrong 3 dots. I can go in and say, ask, like, you know, ChatGPT asked to summarize. So I can tell the tool to go through all of these inputs and say, summarize the content of the discussion in numbered list. And then I say, ask AI, and within seconds, I get a list in order of, you know, what are the items that are all listed here. I don't have to go through all of the details. I can very quickly summarize that chat in real time with my audience. That is something I really like. And then I like this, the world, the globe, because it offers me or every participant translation function. So I can go in and I can say, okay, translate that page into Chinese, simplified. And all of a sudden, you know, this happens in Chinese. And I cannot say if this is an accurate translation, if this is a good way of saying what you saw in English previously, now in Chinese symbols and letters. But it's a very good way for a multicultural audience to select their own language, depending on where they are on the globe and the language that they prefer to see the information in. So that is HowSpace, and this is how I use HowSpace. Now I'm going back to my sharing of the screen of the PowerPoint, because the next thing on the list of tools that I am sharing with you is, and I hope you can see my screen again. Yes. So we can go through all of these because you saw them live, is the Kenny board. And the Kenny board is hardware that I have in my premises. And it has it's like a big screen. It's a big screen where I can connect people from around the world. And with that, I will also show you a very short video, because I think that is easier than talking about it. So I hope you can see that screen here as well. There might be some background music. It's not relevant. Just, you know, look at how Kenny board works in the room. example of how the Cannyboard, the hardware works. House-based software, Cannyboard hardware. Then I also have one tool that is more of a social gathering, fun tool that I use with teams, when we need to, after, half of a day, we need to have some sort of an escape room experience, getting away from the traditional Zoom or MS Teams serious settings. I like to use Meebo. Meebo is also software, but it's a 3D tool where you can have some fun, and I'll just show it to you so you can see that as well. So those were 2 examples, or 3, including Housebase, of how I'm using the technology. And let me share my PowerPoint real fast, just for 2 more slides, and then I'm also done, because I see we have reached the time limit already, but just 2 more slides.
No, we still have time. It's amazing.
Okay, good. So then we'll take a look at the future. And that was really something, let me just pull into presentation mode here. So the outlook into the future is really interesting, because I tested virtual reality glasses of a company that I got in touch with a couple of weeks ago, also networking on LinkedIn. And they offer virtual reality glasses for learning elements. So when we are coaching clients, there are also educational parts that we have in our coaching engagement. Or they have situations in the workplace where they experience a problematic situation. And so the virtual reality glasses offer opportunities for them to experience those scenarios that can be shaped according to the client wishes in virtual reality, and then the coach can work with the client on, deconstructing those experiences. For instance, I worked on a model as I was testing the glasses on bias, gender bias. A female was promoted to become head of AI, and so what was it that this woman had to experience in the workplace? And then we could do some coaching around that. And so I think it is a very interesting added-on tool, and it reminded me a little bit of, my background is a trainer's background, language training, when we started with the e-learning process, so that students could learn some grammar, by reading with an e-learning tool, and then the trainer would come in. All of the basics were already known, so we could work on exercises with them and help them really become more proficient in the language. And it's similar with that virtual reality set. So our coaching clients can experiment with certain scenarios in that virtual reality world without harming themselves, without harming anyone else. And then we can have coaching conversations around that. So there are really interesting modules that this company is offering, and they are expanding their offerings as we go. So I was thinking of maybe having my own leadership development programs, take that next step into virtual reality. I haven't quite, made a decision about that yet, but it was really, really intriguing and very interesting, to see and to look at what technology has to offer. And if you want to get in touch, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also look me up on ResearchGate. I'm writing peer-reviewed articles on the topic of coaching because I'm doing my professional doctorate in that area. So feel free to get in touch, to continue the conversation on social media. And yeah, thank you very much again for your time, for your attention. Now I think it's time for conversations and Q&A, and I will hand it over to you, Icy, and thank you very much for having me here as your guest, talking about the European and the German view of things.
Thank you, Ute. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. Yeah, I saw a lot of comments from the audience. Actually, your presentation has resonated greatly with them because yes, in the past 2 to 3 years, we've seen both the change in people's life and working with the new technology. Yeah, and also thank you for your sharing about the tours. And actually I saw a lot of likes on especially the 3D, the gathering, the Meeple. Yeah, they like it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. So I hope it's available. I know that Housebase is available in China, and I do think Meeple is as well available in China. So do play with it. You can choose different areas. So what I showed you was the attic. So it's a more professional room setting, but you can also go with your team to an island. And there is a record player where you can, play records, where you can sing. I mean, it's a very playful area. And also Sam Isaacson and Professor Clutterberg did an EMCC global event featuring that topic of Meeple and how to work with teams in that. So if you are interested, you can share that as well with your community. So there is more on that topic.
Yeah, will do. Actually, I saw many people say they actually want to know more about the tours. Yeah, there is one page that there are many tours, so many tours on that page. Yeah, they're very interested to dive into it.
So that Housebase page that changed the language, was it that one? What you were saying?
Actually, the first one has many icons on the page. Yeah, on the slide. Yeah. The Housebase is great. Actually, it's the first time actually for some people to see it, because you can put the chat and it can summarize for the cloud in real time. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. And that is what we also used as a platform when I was talking about that educational event, the 4-day conference that we organized in 2020 for people that wanted to learn a little bit more about technology, but also wanting to get away from, the isolation that the pandemic brought. That was the platform that we used to organize that conference. And it has lots of other features that I couldn't show. I mean, one could do an entire session just on the tool Housebase or any other tool that I only scratched the surface on here.
Yeah, I have to say that thanks to technology because it provides many more creative and interesting ways for people not only to learn but also to entertain for fun. Yeah, it's very interesting. Thank you. So thank you.
Yeah.
Next, now let's move on to the Q&A, and my colleague has helped me to collect the questions, and I'll put them in the chat. OK， 那非常感谢吴晨女士刚才精彩的演讲。那我们现在进入问答环节，然后大家如果有问题的话，可以打在聊天框里，我们可以实时回答大家的问题。好，我们现在来看第一个问题。OK, the first question.
Can't see anything yet.
Now, here it is. And
okay.
I'll read it.
Have you encountered any technical obstacles in remote coaching? How did you overcome them? Well, apart from the initial, fear to use technology, on the other side, I wouldn't say no. Of course, connection problems are still something, we see every day. Just this morning, I had an appointment and my client said, I have a new internet line coming to my home and it was opened yesterday. So I hope it's going to be stable, and it was stable. So I think there are still some leftover fears from the past, but technology has become much more stable. And from a coaching perspective, some people might think it's limiting just having the screen, but when we have our cameras on, we can pick up on, body language, cues, nearly as good as if we were in the same room. Yeah, and of course, changing the way how we coach in that virtual room is of course of importance. Like with everything, we cannot just do as we have always done when the context and the circumstances have changed. And so, like I said, using these tools help me to overcome some of these obstacles. Yeah, and so if there is a specific obstacle that someone has in mind, we can also talk about that. But so far, I would say I really enjoy it, and my clients as well.
Yeah. I think it's maybe the except perhaps the internet problems. Actually, everything works well. Yeah. So thank you. 那关于这个远程教练的技术障碍呢，其实一般如果说大家的网线就是可能网络状态都没有问题的话，那其实用其他的这个所有的这个技术工具的话，一般都很顺利，一般不会遇到什么技术上的障碍。Okay, let's see the second question.
So the second one is, does remote coaching affect the coach's ability to perceive the client's emotional state? Very good question. I would say for me, because I have many years of experience already, I would say no, as long as the camera is on. When people do not have their cameras on, I have to really focus because of the bandwidth. Sometimes people switch the cameras off when the internet connection isn't good, and I really have to concentrate and focus on the tone of the voice. Yeah. So really trying to be very focused, be very tuned into the voice of the client can help with that emotional state. And other than, with the camera on, having a big, view of the client, because we can play with what we see on the screen. When I only have two little, tiles, I might not get the full impression. But when I have the client as a main image on the Zoom view or on the MS Teams view, then I can see also facial expressions. So asking questions, of course, is an important way of getting more information about the client's emotional state. So maybe if we were doing the coaching in the room, we would pick on some energy, but still we would ask a question. It doesn't happen by itself when we are in the room as well. So it all comes down again to the coach's ability to ask questions, to double click and dig deeper. What is the emotional state of the client?
Yeah. I have for this question, I have a question. What if the coaches, the camera doesn't work? And it's, yeah, so you can perceive his or her emotion by listening to the tone of voice without the body language.
I mean, we do have sometimes situations where the camera is not working, or like I said, the bandwidth doesn't allow it. But then it is really important that the coachee also speaks to some of the things that otherwise would be visible, and to encourage that. So that is a learning on both sides. So the coachee has to be more expressive around things that are going on for the coachee that remain invisible because of the medium that we are working with.
Thank you. 那第二个问题，关于教练是否会影响教练对这个客户情绪状态的感知，就是如果通过远程的话，那这个呢，一般是如果有经验的教练的话，他会通过对方的这个在镜头前的肢体语言，还有这个声音。那如果假设说可能这个客户他的这个摄像头可能有时候就坏了，用不了了，那这个时候呢，更多的就是要激励鼓励你的这个客户，让他更多的去表达。那你可以从他表达的内容，他的可能语音、语调、声音状态来去识别这个客户的一个状态。那这个呢，其实是对双方来说呢，都是一次可能是一次挑战，也是一次成长的过程。Thank you. Let's see the next question.
Number 3, so how do coaches ensure high levels of engagement from clients in remote coaching? Yeah, by using tools like the ones that I shared, both during in the live session, but also supporting the client in between. So if it's a one-on-one coaching, I don't think it's that big of a deal of getting the coachee remain engaged, because it's just between the two of us. Then if it's like a group coaching experience or a team coaching experience, of course there is more effort, more work to make sure that everyone remains engaged by using the chat box on MS Teams, on Zoom, by using these interactive tools like HowSpace. So with groups and teams, I always use HowSpace, so that everyone has the chance, also the people that are a little bit quiet, to voice their opinion, to participate in the conversation by posting something. And when it is a team where trust levels are not well established, when that is an issue, one can also take the names off in the beginning, so that it is not visible who is posting what. And I think that is also something that removes some of the barriers. So I think using tools in a mindful way, adding value, like I said, the 3 bullet points, adding value for the client and also for me as a coach, that feeds into the question of keeping engagement levels high.
Well, we can see the tool can be really powerful.
Yeah, and of course breakout rooms, when you are with teams, letting people work, in small teams, let them come back, coach them on the experience they had. So there are many different opportunities and options that we can use, also with smaller toolkits. Yeah.
Thank you. Here's another question. Is remote coaching suitable for all types of clients?
Well, I think during the pandemic, there was no other option. It was a must. And it's similar to, thinking in terms of the workplace. How suitable is the remote workplace for each and every employee? I know in China it's not that big of a discussion, but here in Europe, there is a lot of discussion around, is a remote place a healthy, a productive, and innovative workplace? So I think there are some types for whom this place is more conducive than it is for others. Actually, there are some studies that say introverted people like to work in their own environment. And so remote coaching would offer them their safe space at home where they can speak more openly than maybe in a meeting room in an office at the company. Yeah. And so you cannot generalize that, but it's a very personal experience. And what I have seen with my clients, they enjoy it because it gives them more flexibility from where they can have their coaching session. Also at the time, that is very important. Some like to have it early in the morning before they go to work, some later in the evening after work. So it offers them a little bit more flexibility when I'm not seeing the clients in the company. Yeah. And so I think the type of coachee that is suitable is determined by how important is it for the coachee to be, in that safe virtual space or to be in that space with the coach. And I think that applies in the same way for coach and coachee. Where do you feel the most comfortable? Yeah.
Yeah, actually in China, for example, like mentoring or coaching, in the past is the client usually asked the mentor's coach to work on site, but now it's more flexible. But for some of the trainings that will be on site, but some discussions can be conducted online. Yeah, it's flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, today actually it's more prone to the mixed hybrid style. Yeah, it's very popular today, actually, also in China. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Okay, let's see. Here is also maybe let's see. Maybe this is the last question. How do you evaluate the effectiveness of coaching services in remote or hybrid environments?
I would say there is no difference in how I would do it in a face-to-face, in-person environment. That there hasn't been a change, at least not in my practice. It's the same type of routines that I would use. If there is a client that has, a certain goal that they want to achieve, do a retrospective. How far have we come in the coaching engagement to reach that goal? It also depends a little bit, on what the client wants to have. Not every client comes with a particular goal. There are clients that also want to work on things that are occurring in the workplace as they occur and get coaching around that. So it's not much different from what I would do in person. I know I have one, and that could be interesting because we are talking about tools here as well, a Miro board frame where I have, like, when it's like a five-step engagement, 5 meetings with my client. I have a roadmap that I draw on that Miro board. And so we start off with chemistry session. Let's say, what did we say in the chemistry session in the first session? How did we contract? What goals, if there are any, would like to be achieved? And then we can pin that out on that roadmap, from the first session to the 5th session, if that's the number of engagement sessions that we have. And then it's visible also for the client how we are moving on, capturing information on that Miro board. What happened in in the first session, the client can add their perspective of what they see, what kind of growth and learnings they had. And so it's one board where both of us can add our own learnings and insights as we were walking on that coaching journey together. And that is also a little bit of measuring the effectiveness of the coaching engagement, I would say.
Thank you so much. So Ute, thank you very much for your fantastic presentation today. And we've learned a lot from you and looking forward to more learnings from you about coaching in the digital age. Thank you so much for your support for the EMCC China. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. And after the webinar, and I will email you the number of views from the different platforms. Yeah, perhaps tomorrow, because we will need to count the total number.
Perfect. Lovely.
Thank you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, Eilish. Bye, Katrin.
Thank you. Thank you, Katrin. Thank you for your participation.
Okay, is there anything else that you need from me, I.C., or are we all set?
Yeah, that's all for today's webinar. And thank you very much.
Okay, good. Then have a
and
wonderful...
also, yeah, actually looking forward to perhaps for future collaboration with you. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Have a nice evening, because it's evening already in your time zone, right?
Yeah, it's 8 p.m. here.
Yeah, okay. Then have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.